What's up, everybody? This is Red Bull Tanker. Welcome to another game of 1940. This is called Operation Fog of War. Due to the title of the game being played, the game is being hosted by Zach Fielding from one of the many Facebook Axis and Allies groups. I will link that group in the description, along with Zach's own group called Theater Commander. It's through that group that he runs these. This is his fourth game now, and basically the idea is there are 3 people per turn. One person is the president, the Fuhrer, the prime minister, what have you, and then 2 others are the generals or the admirals or whatever you want to choose to be for this. But so the first 3 games have been your average, out of the box 1940 game. This one's a little bit different, as in the title it is called the Fog of War, which, pulling back, as you can see, starting on the map, you're not seeing a lot of pieces. This is due to the quote-unquote Fog of War. Now, for this game, myself and 2 others, Dylan, I believe it's Dylan Benoit, and can't remember Jason's last name off the top of my head for a second, but it's me, Dylan, and Jason. We are playing as the United Kingdom and the Far East Command. Each of us is given our own personal unit to command. So Jason is commanding the Far East forces, and his command piece is the fighter in India. I am taking on the role of Field Marshal Montgomery, commanding the 8th Army with the tank in Africa. And then Dylan is technically our Prime Minister, but he is taking over as the fighter off of Malta. And I'll explain the strategic bomber on Malta in a second here. Real quick too, Zach really added 2 things to the overall 1940, and that is putting an airfield on Sicily and a damaged airfield on a damaged airfield on Malta. But so this is the board right now, starting off. As I said, you can't see much of the Germans or really any of the Japanese forces, and so that's part of the Fog of War. So now I'll get into that. So for the Fog of War, the enemy units are hidden, except for units that are next to territories that you have troops in, which actually, looking over here in Siam, I think I can see them because I have a battleship in this sea zone, I think. I'll have to double check that. But so, anywhere we have allied forces against the enemy, you'll see their troops. So like, those guys up there are in Holland, Belgium. These guys are in Western Germany. On the Eastern Front, we can't see anything right now because the Russians are not at war with anybody. And that is the same over here with Manchuria and Korea. We can't see anything because the Russians are not at war with the Japanese. I mean, with China being at war against Japan, we can only see a few of the Japanese units. So, how can you see or find your enemy units, especially like C units? Oh, and one thing about C units is that you can only see C units if they're adjacent to a land territory that you have troops in. Sea territories you don't see because the oceans are so big. So how do you find your enemies? Well, there's been an adjustment to the how you take your turn. So it starts with reconnaissance, purchase and repairs, combat moves, combat, non-combat moves, deploy, collect income. So on the reconnaissance portion of your turn, you can take a fighter, a tactical, a strategic bomber, or a submarine to go on recon. And any units that go on recon, that's their turn. They can't be used for combat. They can't be used during the combat turn. So basically, say I wanted to scout out Italian positions here south of Italy. We'll say we want to try and see what's in C-Zone 97. I would select, and this is where the bomber on Malta comes in. Every nation was granted one more starting air unit. The Allies got to pick between all three types of aircraft, whereas the Axis only got to pick fighters or tactical bombers. So again, say I want to scout C-Zone 97. I say, okay, this strategic bomber is going to go on a scouting mission. It'll go and scout. And if there are enemy ships there, they will be revealed to us. And we will know that the enemy has ships in C-Zone 97. Now, one thing, so with fighters and tactical bombers, you'll only see what's here. Now, say with a strategic bomber, I wanted to see 97, but I also wanted to see what's in 95. I can go 1, 2, and the strategic bombers will reveal units in two spaces through your flight path. Now, if you were going to go like almost the full length of a bomber's movements, you could pick anywhere along the way where you want to, what zones you want to reveal, so to speak. And then submarines do the same thing. Subs will, we'll do this. So subs will be considered submerged, and then they can go and they can sit there, and they can't be discovered by destroyers unless they are, which is something I'll bring in. I'll talk about in a second here. But so then the sub will lay here. The enemy won't know it's there, and if any enemy units go through the C zone, it is reported to the player. Well, say this American submarine was here, Japan moved a fleet through. The U.S. players would be alerted by the game master, who is Zach, what Japanese units went through and in what C zone they went to. So if they went from 1920 to 36, Zach would tell the U.S. players, hey, a Japanese fleet came from C zone 19 into C zone 20 with this many with these ships, and they went into C zone 36. And there you have your intelligence. Now, say you want to try and find submarines. There are 4 ways you can do it, and that's with a destroyer, a fighter, a tactical, and a strategic. They can discover submarines as well. However, if you want to attack the submarine, you have to first force it to the surface, which is where destroyers, tacticals, and strategic bombers come in. They will drop depth charges, and if there happens to be a submarine there and you get the right roll, which I believe is a 2 or less, then the sub will be forced to surface, and there will be 1 round of then the unit will be forced to surface. However, if the destroyer, tactical, or strategic was used on the recon, they can't attack the sub. You have to have other units available to attack the sub. So say this was a Japanese submarine. This British destroyer came in, depth charged, and this Japanese sub came up to surface, and the Americans had had this destroyer here. The Americans could then move the sub in, or move their destroyer in, and attack the Japanese sub. There'd only be 1 round of combat, and if they don't kill it, then the sub resubmerges and goes back into hiding. So if you are going to recon and search for subs, you got to make sure you have units standing by to exploit any submarines that you find. Another thing too, even though the sub is submerged, if they are in a zone where there is convoy raiding, they will still get the convoy raid. And as Zach explained it, when convoy raiding happens, the person who got raided will be informed, hey, you lost this many IPC to a convoy raid, but he will not tell you where you were convoy raided. You will just be informed that your team was convoy raided. I think that's pretty much the rules in a nutshell. Like I said, I'm going to link both the Axis and Allies group and Zach's Theater Commanders group. And like I said, this is his 4th game. He's calling it Fog of War, so I'm calling my string of videos Operation Fog of War. Again, I and 2 others are playing as Great Britain and the Far East Command. We're hoping to start either tomorrow or Saturday, but I don't know when Britain will be able to take their turn. Once someone's turn, because this is being played over, I guess you could say, since it's being played over Facebook Messenger, every team is given a 24-hour window from when their turn starts to where they have to have all their orders, purchases, and everything turned into Zach so he can make the movements on the board. And Zach will roll the outcomes for every battle. So throughout my videos, you won't see the actual combat. You'll just see what we as the British team did, how it, or you know, what we decide to purchase, what we decide to recon, purchase, attack, and non-combat, but you'll see what happens as a result of our combats if we lose anything, stuff like that. So there won't be any videos of me rolling combat. You'll just be told, this is what we did, this is what happened, and this is what we chose to do because this happened. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah. Also, because of the nature of the game, I'm not going to be able to really post videos right away. Because of the nature of the game, I don't want to post videos and then have one of our enemies come into the channel and start watching the videos and, how do I want to say it? I don't want the enemy coming in watching videos and then, getting intelligence off of this. Oh, and that's something else you can do. If you don't want to recon for units, you can pay 2 IPCs for spying per turn. I think it's 2 IPC for 1 spy per turn, and it'll reveal and it will reveal units in whatever territory you want. Or you can spend 3 IPC and be like, I want to spend 3 IPC to see what Germany bought this turn. So then purchases are going to be hidden, but you can pay 3 IPC per enemy nation to see what they purchased. You won't see where they were deployed, but you can see what they purchased. So thinking, okay, I think that is actually everything now. So yeah, this is Operation. So this is going to be Operation Fog of War, and I hope you guys will stick around and hope you guys like what you see. So until I start posting, guys, take care.